And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
A very popular show on television right now is The Walking Dead, and here we have the board game, The Walking Dead Best Defense from Cryptozoic, based on the AMC series. There's a comic book series and a TV series. This one is definitely based on the TV series. This is a cooperative game, which it seems most zombies games are these days, in which players are working together to basically survive. And I don't think you have any chance of, stopping the zombie apocalypse, or walkers as they're called in this game. But at the same time, you're just trying to survive a certain number of rounds. There's various ways to play the game modes, but let me just show you how the game works. At the beginning of the game, you're going to set 4 locations up: the farm, the prison, the highway, and the town. It doesn't really matter which location you have in which spot. It's random. And each spot gets a random pile placed with it. You have a pile of allies, a pile of equipment, a pile of ammo, and a pile of food over there. Each player is going to take one of the characters. You got beloved characters and hated characters from the TV show. Each of these characters is pretty close to being the same, although they have a special leader ability. Like Rick adds 1 to each survivor's combat roll each round, while Glenn, at the start of any turn, chooses a survivor. That survivor gains 1 ammo. Other than that, there's hit points and allies and food. This is to show what they have. Each player is going to get 5 hit points. In this game, the 1s can be turned over to 3s, which can result in a lot of confusion, actually. You start with a couple allies, who are really expendable people, and some food, which is a way that you can recover hit points. Now, one person is chosen to be the initial leader, and each round of the game, someone is going to be the leader of the game. Over here, you see there's a round track, and you'll keep track. If you make it through 12 rounds, well, you win the game. But you have to survive. And the thing about surviving is you have to survive this deck of event cards. Each round of the game, everyone is going to get dealt 2 event cards from here. And these event cards, they show different pictures and from the TV show, and different things happen. And each player is going to get 2 of them. The leader is going to have to play both of their event cards. So here, for example, it says if you're at the farm, draw a food card. If you're not at the farm, add 1 to 3 walkers. You roll a 3-sided die to the farm. While this one here, let's see. This one just says add 1 to 6 walkers to the prison. Or here, add 1 walker to your location for each ally you have. Many of them, though, have to do with where you are, depending if you're at the town. Discard 1 of 3 equipment cards, etc. Now, there's 2 ways to play this game. You can play standard mode or hardcore mode, which means in hardcore mode, if 1 survivor dies, you guys lose. In standard mode, if you die, you just keep playing with a different person. But there's beginner difficulty and expert difficulty. Beginner difficulty, everybody can communicate. In expert difficulty, you can only communicate during combat. Once you've drawn these event cards, you can't communicate. So, without communicating, the leader can move each person on the board. They can move in 1 spot. So you can't go diagonally, but you can go 1 spot. The leader can move people in different things. The first leader gets to put them on the board wherever he wants. After that, the leader gets to draw a card wherever they are. So the spot you're in, you can draw a card from that deck. You don't have to. Ally cards give you more allies. Food card gives you more food. Ammo cards will give you ammo for different weapons. And equipment will give you weapons. Now, each player starts the game with equipment, and there's a lot of equipment that's in the game. We have, let's see, there's bandages and a shotgun. That's a nice thing to have. A motorcycle. Most of the equipment is weapons. The machete, silencer, katana, handgun, metal pipe. And hand-to-hand weapons don't need ammo, but when you get a shotgun at the beginning of the game, this comes with 6 ammo. As the game progresses, if you draw this equipment from a pile, it comes with no ammo, so you'll have to go over to their spot and hopefully find the correct ammo, because there's very specific ammo here. There's rifle ammo, shotgun ammo, lots of shotgun ammo, crossbow ammo. So there's different kinds of ammos for the different weapons that are in the game. So you can draw a card from where you are, and you can also trade people. And then the leader has to play both of his event cards. Then each other player in turn order can defy the leader, which means you pay 1 food and you can move to another location. You don't like where the leader moved you, you can move somewhere else. They also can draw a card from that corresponding location. They can trade with people in their spot, and then they will play one of their event cards. After everybody has gone, there is a combat phase. Each player is going to try to fight the different zombies. Combat's done with dice. Weapons that you have will allow you to roll a certain number of dice. For example, a rifle allows you to roll 2 dice. Now when you roll dice, in this instance, I rolled a 6. Each 5 points of damage you do kills 1 walker at your location. If there's multiple people at a location with ranged weapons, you can add all their rolls together. So if I have a rifle and you have a handgun, we can roll 3 dice, and we add 3 of them together, and we get 8. That still only kills 1 person. Hand-to-hand equipment, like this metal pipe, gives 1, although this adds 3 to your roll. These can't be combined together, because when you're fighting hand-to-hand combat, people don't want to shoot around you. So each player will fight wherever they are, and maybe a couple walkers get killed. Then any walkers in different locations. In a prison, you can ignore 3 walkers. That's the special ability of the prison. But the rest of them, the walkers will attack, and they will do damage to the people who are there. If there is nobody there, then they will damage the piles and cause cards to be discarded. If one of these piles runs out at any point, the players will lose the game. So players have to take an effect. You can't say, well, we'll just stay out of the highway area. Then all your food cards will be gone. And, if you run out of cards, even from you drawing them, and then the walkers taking out the rest, then, you'll lose the game. So that's basically how each turn works. At the end of a turn, during the combat phase, people are allowed to talk to each other. Each walker on the board will do damage. Players can spend 1 food then, at the end of their turn, to heal a damage. Players can also use allies to add to combat rolls. Basically, you spend them. I don't really understand how that works. You're just spending allies. So allies are used to add to combat rolls. Food is used to heal hit points, and hit points are to keep you alive. And so the game will just continue round after round after round until you either survive 12 rounds, or until one of the piles is gone, or a survivor is killed in hard mode. And that's how the game plays. All right, the first thing I need to do, I think, here is talk about my biases a little bit. First of all, I'm not a huge fan of zombie games, although there's some that I like a lot. I'm also not a fan of The Walking Dead, either the comics or the TV show, for basically the same reason. I read the comics for a very long time. I've seen a few episodes of the TV show, but I just got depressed. There was never anything happy that happened in these in this show. There was no good ending in sight, and it just gets worse and worse. And minor spoiler, but several characters that you like will likely die as the show / comic book progress. But whatever. The theme, I think, though, is very well presented in this game, with the exception of I think in the theme in the TV series, obviously one of the biggest threats to humans is other humans. That's not portrayed as well here, but they came awfully close. See, I talked about the game having different modes, and there's the standard mode and the more difficult mode. You've got to play in a difficult mode. If you play in standard mode where you have full communication, I would be very hard pressed to think that you would often lose, because it's very easy to work it out. But when you can't communicate, and you can kind of communicate by moving, and then during combat phase you have full communication, and you're like, but those event cards, it says if you're on the farm, you get this, or if you're on the farm, you'll lose, ammunition, and so you don't want to be on the farm, but at the same time, should you go there or not? The card might say if you're on the farm, you'll have a very boring season, or you're on the farm, you will 3 more zombies appear. Well, I don't want to have the walkers appear on the farm, so I don't want to be there. But the leader put me there, so I don't have to play that card. I'll play my other card, but the other card's even worse. Sometimes you get stuck with 2 really bad cards. The leader has to play both of his cards, but at the same time, he has to try to read everybody else's mind. So it's a very interesting mechanism. I think that's probably the coolest thing about the game. The combat and the using tokens, the rest of that, the game is very simple. Some of the weapons are infinitely better than others. The katana is by far the best weapon in the game, because you roll it, and if you roll a 4, 5, or 6, you can roll it again and just keep that up. And sometimes you just go insane with that katana, just walking through and killing everyone. And I know the owner of the katana did something like that in the TV show, but at the same time, it's almost like If you get the katana, you have a much better chance of winning. If you don't, I hate one card having that much power, I think. Shotguns are pretty good too, but they're going to run out of ammo. Katana doesn't run out of ammo. So, for me, a mediocre game, really. I liked it well enough. It played okay. The theme came through. I think the graphic design's done. A lot of these games that use movies or TV shows usually often use bad imagery. I think this one picked some good shots from the TV show. The main characters are there fleshed out. And I think fans of the show will like this game a lot. I just felt like it was okay. It had that interesting idea of a minor lack of communication. But when it all came down to it, it still felt kind of like you were doing the same thing over and 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 over again. And some of the weapons were just skewed a little too powerfully. A decent effort. Just that's basically where I'm going to leave at this point. That's the Walking Dead board game.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!